Yesterday we have learned about how to create a table and like what is like when we will be extending one table from another table and like how auto number will generate, and we have created two three like fields as well. We'll see that. Okay. So the table which we created is u underscore demo. We have created this. Okay, let me open what it has. So this number field we have created while creating the table itself, and we have added two more fields, which is requested by and the short description. Okay, so requested by is reference field. That means we are taking the data from other table, like we are referencing that particular table here. Like here, we are referencing the user table so that all the users will be displayed here and user can select any of the user. Okay, and this is a string type field where we can show some information. Okay, like that only I'll try to add one or two fields, types of fields like choice field and like HTML field. And then we can learn about dictionary, like the configuration, how we can do all those. Okay. So if we click on configure and table, we'll go into this table. I'm creating one field. So we have choice type as well, and we have string type as well. Okay. So in string type as well, we can use choices. Okay. But generally what we do is we will be having a string type and we'll be giving the choices for it. For example, category. The in the choices how we want, with none or without none, we can select. In the related list, we will be having the choices, attributes, labels. We'll know about attributes more in upcoming classes. So whenever you want to have choices, you can select you want with none or without none, and then you have to add choices here. So for example, software is the label and the value is in smalls. I'm giving software. So whenever we try to get the value uh, using script, we'll get this value. And whenever you want to set some value, you have to give this value, not the label. Okay. So for states or something like that, it will be numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have to give that value. You shouldn't give the label. When you are setting the value or when you are getting the value, you will be getting this particular value, not the label. Okay. So we have uh, like other fields as well here, dependent value and hint. Hint means like you can give anything like on hover of it, which will be displayed. That particular hint you can give, and the sequence. So the if it is the sequence is 10, it will be on the top. If the sequence is more, then it will be the next. Like first, we'll be getting the hardware, and then we'll be seeing software. Okay. And let me create choice, one more choice field, which is subcategory. So, so for software, I'm having some subcategories like email, create two more choices. So let me open the table and see how it is looking now. So category came here and subcategory came here. I don't want to be here. I want under requested by. So what I'll do, I'll go to configure and form design, and just I'll move them like here or okay. So there we came here, and now I'm getting in category hardware and software, and in subcategory, even if I select software, I'm getting keyboard and laptop, which are not related to software. So in this case, what I want to do now is, if I select software only, the subcategories related to software should be displayed. That is my requirement. Okay. How we can do this is we can use dependent field values. Okay. So if you open like any of the choice, you have like, for example, email is there, right? Okay. For email, you have some dependent value, right? So this field we have to use in order to like get this particular requirement. So what we need to do here, so whenever this software gets selected, we want to map this email with the software and service desk application with the software, and for hardware I want to map laptop and keyboard. Okay, how we can do that, let's see. And there is one more thing as well we need to do, that I'll tell you. Okay, so first what we need to do, we have to map the values. So for the software, value is software. So in the dependent value, let me get the dependent field here itself so that it will be easy. So for email, I want software. So the dependent field will be software. And for service desk application, also it should be software. Okay. And for keyboard and laptop, it should be hardware, right? And let me once open this particular. So what we did till now, we have just mapped the subcategories values to the software, and in the category, so in the subcategory as well, we have dependent field, right? Specify a field whose value is used to determine the choice list option. So we have mapped the values, but here we don't know from which field we should get the values for the subcategory to in order to map, right? So here for subcategory, I have mapped the category values, but how the system will know that like with which field it should compare. So we didn't mention anywhere that here it should get the values from the category, and the category values should be only mapped, right? So that particular configuration is not yet done. So use, and then in order to get the values and map it here, we have to use this particular configuration, which is use dependent field, and the dependent field is category. Okay, so that's why we are selecting here, so that whenever the subcategory choices being loaded, what it will do, as there is a dependent field, it will get the value from the category and map it with the dependent value field. Okay, if it is matching, then only then particular labels it will show. Is everyone getting? Let me open this record. So here I have selected hardware. Let me reload once again. So I have selected hardware, and in the subcategory I got keyboard and laptop only. Why? Because we have mapped keyboard and laptop with this hardware. And for subcategory, the dependent is category. It is dependent on category, right? So if I click on software, then I'm getting email and service desk. Why? Because we have mapped it with software. Is everyone clear here? Hello? Okay, I'm moving forward. So that is about the dependent fields. I'll now talk about this reference qualifier. Okay. So whenever we open this particular any of the like reference. So for example, here there are 622 users. Okay. With whom being it's requested by. So if even if you go to users table and see. So here, if you see, there are 622 records in this particular user table. So even as we have not given any conditions to it, even here we are showing like those many users itself, like 622 users we are showing. But we don't want like every users to be seen whenever they are selecting, whenever requested by or assigned to or any field it can be. So we want to show them the relevant fields only, so that performance wise as well, we will be loading only few records. And if they like if they do not want to see those, and if we are still showing them, it will be too much of information for them, and they have to struggle a bit. So it's not a good practice to show all the records. Okay, we should show only related information. Like, okay, for example, in this particular demo table is only available for IT department. Okay, for example, how we'll get the department here? We can click on here to get the department. Okay, so I have opened. Let me open department. Yeah, here it is. Let's assume that this particular demo table is only for IT department. Okay, so it can be requested by only IT. So in requested by only IT users will be there. Let's assume that is the condition. So there were 622 records. So if I keep the condition as department is IT, I can like reduce the records to 116. Okay. How we can give this particular condition in this requested by, we'll see. Okay. For example, you want to configure anything for this particular field, then you have to right click and click on configure dictionary. So if you go to the reference qualifier, with which table we are referencing, it is there. That is the user table. And we have to add this condition. Okay. So if you say department is IT. So you have to select that particular department. Okay. Then only then we can see these many records, 116 records from this particular department only. Let's check whether it is working or not. So here I'm able to see 116 records only. Why? Because it's only now restricted to IT department. Okay. So as generally the requested by will be the same person who has been logged in, right? Like who have requested that particular record. So so initially only we can directly give the default value, but if there is any requirement to change, and only from their particular department we have given the condition as department is IT here. Okay, so it is normal reference qualifier, general reference qualifier. It is simple one. Okay, so if you click on advanced view, here the reference qualifier types are there: simple, dynamic, and advanced. Okay, so so if you want like any advanced conditions to be given, or dynamic conditions or should be given, then you can select those. So for example, there is a requirement uh, only the user should be seen from the current group itself. Okay, as of now we don't have the group here. Let's quickly create the assignment group and then assign to, or for example, like if it is static, we can't use the dynamic conditions and like advanced conditions. So let's just create some group, and we'll see. We'll just create one field which will hold the records from groups. Let me create one field of type reference. So the label will be that now it, let's say it's a group itself. So I'm referencing to group table. Let me confirm this table. So this is the groups table which I want to see. So I have referenced it to that particular table. Okay. So I got the group. Let me put it on top of it. So this group. Let's say, for example, group is some app engine admins or something. Okay. Only if I'm part of that, like only whenever I click on search, my requirement is only the users who are in this particular group should be like visible to me, like in the requested way. Okay. Okay, so we have to understand, before that we have to understand how group and group members will work, so that my requirement is whenever I select any group, I want only those users should be visible here who are these group members. Okay, so generally we use these groups like for example, there is an incident ticket. Okay, let me open an incident ticket. So this is the incident ticket. So there is some group which is assigned to. For example, the service desk group has to resolve this particular incident. Okay. So what they will be doing generally, so any member of that particular group can resolve this issue. So whenever they click on select only, here they will be able to select only that particular group members here. Okay, so we can create groups for like any like ticket resolution, or in order to give some role, like this particular group will have few advantages, like for this particular group of people I want to give some role. Okay, so then if I give role to this particular group, it will be automatically getting added to all the group members. Okay, so that is the one advantage. And whenever any group like any group gets assigned to some particular record, then they have to approve it, or they have to do some jobs, right? So for that we will be having this particular groups. Okay, so whenever if you want to add any member to any of the group, so how will you, you will be clicking on edit, and for example, I am adding able tutor. Okay, and I am clicking on save. Okay, so able tutor has been added here. Okay, so if you see, this particular group table is sys user group, which is different, completely different, and it's getting added to group members table, but it's assigned to this particular group. So if I right click on this particular group and open here, so this is completely new table, which is sys user gr member. Okay, so in this particular table it is having the relation between group and user. Okay, so this particular table will hold for which group which user is getting added. So whenever I click on edit and add any new user, what it will do, it will create a new entry in this particular sys user gr member table. Okay, so as I was adding a user called able tutor to this group, to service desk group, it created new entry. Okay, it created new record in this particular group member table, and for that particular user, it created this particular record. So if you open this particular record, only there is a link between which user and which group. Okay, for this user this group has been assigned, like that. Okay, so that is the relationship. Okay, so coming back to our requirement, So for example, analytics group has been selected. I want to show only those users who are in this particular group, right? So what I can do, I have to write some script in order to get who are all the members of that particular group and show it here. Okay. Let's so whenever you want some whenever you want to have any advanced things, like you can click on advanced. Okay. So if it is simple direct condition, so as it's simple means, for example, user is there, right? So it is related to user table, which I want to restrict, like department is IT, or like location is New York, something like which is related to completely user, then I will use simple. But here, why I am using advanced is I want to get the first, I want to get the current group. Okay. Let me open the. So here, in order to show these group members, first I need to get that particular group, and I have to only show the members of that particular group, right? So I have to use advanced conditions here. Okay. So let's brainstorm how we can get these users and how we can show only those group members. Okay. So in this particular user table, if you go here, we won't be able to know uh, like if I give the group members here, I won't be able to know like which user is part of which group, but we are referencing this particular table itself. And what is the other information we have group, like which group it is currently in. Okay, so based on these two, we have one more table which is related between groups and user, which is sys user gr member. So there, what we can do, we can get all the users which are part of that particular group, and we can return only those users, so that we can see only few users who are part of that particular group. So in advanced, whenever you select advanced, you can write some script here directly, or you can call any script include. As of now, we didn't learn script include and scripting, but just for the reference qualifier purpose, I'll just tell you how we can use. Okay. So whenever you are calling any script include, you have to put JavaScript colon here. Okay. So JavaScript colon, and you have to give the script include name, and let me create first a script include and a function it. So generally a script include is similar to a class, like it is like a library which can be reused from anywhere. Okay. Script include is something, it is a server side script which can be used from any part of like Servicenow. From anywhere we can use this. Anyone like any coder can access it. So there is no particular restriction, like only this particular table has to use that, or like that. So that's why script include is like a library. So I'm creating one library, and in that I'm creating some reusable function. Okay. So reference qualifier utils, one generic script include I am creating. So if I just click on it, some code will be getting pre-populated. So it is creating a class, and in this we can have some functions. So I'll tell you in detail when we know about script include in detail, but as of now I'm just creating a function. Okay. So the function, what it has to give the users. Okay. So get users of group. So this function should give me some users. So what are the information we need? We need the group so that we can give the users here. So here I'll be taking some input as which is I need to get the group. Okay, let me save it. Then we'll write the code. So this is the scripting include name and this is the function name. Okay. So where is my reference qualifier? So here is my reference qualifier. So it is not a just, it's not just simple like if it is if you see here, if it is simple, we'll be just giving this condition. But in advance, as we are writing some JavaScript code, we are not giving only what we call a query. So that we have to write JavaScript in order to tell it to run that particular code. So what I'm doing as of now, I'm calling this script include. So we will be calling script include using this particular name, new followed by name and dot this particular function. Okay. The function accepts group. How I can give the group is current dot. Current means I'm on the current record. So current dot, if I give u underscore group. So it will be giving the group. Okay. So I got the group here. So here, what is getting passed or is it getting triggered or not? Let's check. Let me refresh this. Let me select the group first and let me try to get something in it. Okay. So this reference qualifier will run whenever I click on the search icon. So at this time, the reference qualifier should get triggered. And let's check this particular log I am getting or not. So in order to check the logs, you can type system logs, and here you will be having all warnings, errors, script log statements. Okay, I'm clicking on all. So here I'm getting group selected is some sysID. So okay, here I am getting the sysID. So the code is getting triggered properly now, and we have some information like I am getting the group. Okay, so by using this particular group, I have to show those users. Okay, so here I have this particular group sysID. Why I have the sysID even if I type like current dot u underscore group is, so this particular u underscore group from where it is coming is like if you open this particular record, so here we have created group field, right? So u underscore group is the backend name of that particular field. We are passing this particular group whichever it's getting selected. And why we are sending the sysID is any reference fields will be storing the sysids as a values. For example, we have reference fields like group, so u underscore group, right? So this is holding the value. Okay, so like if you see, like sys created on is having the date and its count or something, but u underscore group is having the display value as an attribute, which is app engine admins, which is a group name. Okay, and name is app engine admins, but actual value which is it's holding is the sysID. Okay, why reference fields will be holding the sysID is by using the sysids, they will be able to quickly find the what is that particular records it's getting referenced to. Okay, so whenever any form gets loads, it will be throwing the XML from the backend from the ServiceNow server, and actually which is getting displayed all these by processing these records itself. Okay, so that's why for any of the reference fields, we will be getting the sysids. Okay, so we have group sysid. Okay, let's say this is the group sysid. Let's copy this. Okay, so from any of the table, we should get what are the users we have based on that particular group. Okay, so if I open this analytics manager group, so for example, we have selected this particular group. Okay, let me open any other ones. Okay, so as of now, I have selected, or even this doesn't has any names. Okay. So as of now, let's say service desk is the group which I have selected. Okay, it has some group members. So I want to get these group members to show there. Okay, if I glide this user group and get these, I can't get these users. Okay, why? Because all the information between the users and groups has been stored in this particular group. Okay, this particular table. So for this group, these are all the users where I am holding in this particular table, which is group members. Okay, the backend name is this user group member. So if I pass, if I pass any group name or group sysid, I should be able to get all these users. Okay, how we can get that and how we can do. As of now, I'll write script. Till now we didn't learn glide record, but just listen to it so that in future classes it will be easier for you guys. Okay, so if you just right click and copy query, you will be getting the query which is getting applied. Okay, so let me paste this particular query here and understand what is getting passed. Group is some sysid. Here also it is sysid. Why? Because in this particular table as well, these both are referencing. This is referencing to the user table and this is referencing to the group table. Okay, that's why it is storing the sysid of that particular group. So how we can get all these users is we have to glide this particular table, which is user member. Okay, group members table, sys user group member table, and pass the sysid of that particular group so that we can get all these users. Okay, so this is the table name. Okay, this is the table name and this is the query which is getting passed. Okay, so let me glide this particular table. So we'll be using glide record. So to get any data or update any record or to create any record, we will be using glide record. Okay, let's say group member glide record and pass it. So in order to add query, you can directly use add query, or if you want to directly paste this whatever we have copied, you can use add encoded query. Okay, so let's use add encoded query, and whatever we have copied, let me paste it. Okay. So as of now, if I give any only one SysID, I'll be getting only the users of that particular group. But I want to make it dynamic, so I'll pass whatever the group I am getting. Okay. So to pass this query, I have to use dot query. Okay. So once we query, we have to get each of the record. We can't get all the records. So as we are getting the multiples records here, I am using while loop, and group member dot next will be getting each of the record. Okay. So here I'll be storing all the user SysIDs in one particular table, so that I'll create one array, user array. Okay. And I'll pass all the users here in user array. Okay. User array dot push. I have to push the SysIDs. Okay. Let me open this particular record, which is sysuser gr member. And what is the backend name of it? It is user. Okay. In this particular user field, what it's storing? It is storing the SysID here, and in display value, it is storing the display value. So I want the SysID. I'll just use group member dot get value of, I have to pass user here. So I'm pushing all the records here. Okay. So by this time, I got all the users here. Okay. In user array, I have all the users. Okay. But one main thing which we need to understand is how reference qualifier understands it. Okay. So let's go back to this particular reference qualifier, and I'm making it to simple again. So in dynamic, I'll remove all the script. Okay. And I'm just giving department is IT. So after giving department is IT, if I click on advanced, it is giving me this particular query which is getting passed, right? So it is saying for this particular user table, add this particular filter. Department is this. Okay. So that we will get those records itself. For example, instead of department, I'll use location or something. Okay. Location is this. Okay. And if I try to convert it to dynamic, like I guess I have to save it and then only it will. Okay. Location is something. And if I try to convert it to dynamic, or like not dynamic, in advanced, I'm getting this location equals to SysID of that particular location. I'm getting like that, right? So ultimately to this particular reference qualifier, it is expecting a encoded query, which is getting applied. Okay. So even now, when we call a script include, we have to pass something like this. Location is this, or users is this, like that, so that it can understand. So for example, let's see what are the users or like if the location is this, what it's getting. Okay. So in simple, location is 100 Charles, right? So let's go to this particular user. location is so this is the location. Like if there are any users from that particular location, we'll get all the details like that. Okay. But as of now, there are no users are there. Nothing is there. Okay. But as of now, what we have user sysids. For example, able tutor sysid is there. We have some sysids available from that particular GR member table in the code. Okay. So if it is we as of now we have sysids, right? So if I give sysid is something, oh, let me once again do that. So as of now we have sysids. Okay. So if I give sysid is sysid of some user, I got this particular user. Okay. And similarly, let me open in this new tab so that it will be easier for me. I have multiple users. As of now, I want to see not only one user, I want to see other users as well. For example, I want to give multiple users or multiple values. So then what I can use, starts with, ends with, doesn't contain, is empty, not empty. So I have is one of, means is one of will take multiple values, and whatever the values here I give, if it matches with any one of these values, it will be giving me that particular records. Okay. So if I give two sysids to it, it is giving me two records. Okay. So for example, let me add Alan as well. Okay. Copy sysid. So if I give three sysid, I'm getting three records. So as of now, I have some sysids with me of that particular record, and I need to pass this entire encoded query to it. So if I copy this query to this particular reference qualifier, I have to convert that particular data which I have to something like this. Okay. So let me go to this particular reference qualifier code. So as of now, I have the values in array like this. Sysid 1, sysid 2, like that I have. And I want to convert it to like this, sysid in, sysid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as we know, in order to convert any array to string of values by comma separated, we can use dot to string, so that it will be converting first. Like this is array, right? We have user array. Okay. I'm creating one more variable which is user strings. So what I will do from this array, I'll convert it to string, dot to string. So after doing this, what will be the values will be, it will have sysid 1, comma sysid 2. Okay. So it is converted to string, and with commas I have. So I have these till these many, till this I have this query. So I want to add sys underscore id in to this particular query, whichever it is there. Okay. So final query is sys underscore id. I want to append it. Okay. This id in plus whatever the user string. Okay. User string I want to pass. So this particular query I got, but I want to return that particular query, then only it can read it. So I have to use a return statement. So that it can understand. Okay. So let me call this particular include. So let me go to advanced and say JavaScript colon. So as of now, it was just static location like that. But here I want to call some JavaScript code. That's why I'm using JavaScript new script include name dot function name and pass the user sys ID using current dot group. And let's see how it works. Okay. We know that in service desk group there are few users. So let me select service desk. So and after clicking on it, I got all the records. That means something is wrong with, like, if I even after giving the encoded query and like dynamic advanced and using JavaScript colon, if it's still returning all the records, that means we did something wrong there. Let's debug now. Let's check. So new reference qualifier get user up to current dot underscore group. That is correct. So this particular query, this particular code, I'll be testing from background script so that I can know is it returning the proper values or not. Okay. So how we can open the background script is scripts followed by space so that you can see scripts hyphen background. Okay. So here I'll call this particular script include. As it's returning something, let me store return value. Okay. And it is expecting some group sys So current dot u underscore group won't work. Why? Because we don't have any current record on here. So I'll pass some group sys Okay. So service desk sys I'll copy, right click, copy sys and let me give it here. And I want to see the output, what is present in this return value. So I'll use gs.info. Okay. So if I run this particular script, return value sys in, I'm getting some value. Okay. Let me put this in. Once again, let me check. I'll just print this return value and copy whatever it came. Okay. If you see here, sys this small I. Okay. That's why it is not working. It should be capital IN. Okay. How means, like if you see here, I have copied this query and pasted here. It is sys underscore ID and capital IN, right? But in the code, I might have given small in. That's why it is not working. So it should be capital IN. Let's save. Check again. So if I click on requested buy now, so I am getting the group members of service desk only now. Okay. If I open any other group like hardware and try to select any of the users, I'll be getting only the users of hardware. Okay. That's about the reference qualifier. Actually, uh, it was fast forward. I didn't tell you about scripting includes and glad records, but I still gave you some examples so that it'll you can learn on your own. But still, I'll be telling you what is scripting include, what is glad record in future classes. Okay.